Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas and AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on pick your favorite cable provider in your favorite market, in select markets, that is. Also Hotel TV, same. And everybody on Chicago Food Favorites, thanks for joining us on Facebook. Chicago Food Favorites, a fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, by the way, our friends over at Vacation Buddies are giving away a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri. If you can answer a simple trivia question, if you know the answer, call the number at, well, actually that I'm going to read right after the question. And guess what? You got yourself a couple of nights right here in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri, compliments of Vacation Buddies. Which of these four NBA superstars won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Earvin Magic Johnson, B, Larry Bird, C, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri, if you know the answer to that simple trivia question. If so, again, call 888-576-5777. Call now. All right. Now, if you've been watching the NFL, folks, there was, as usual, a bevy of calls that you just kind of scratch your head and say, how the hell did that call get made in the first place when it was blatantly something else? And the whole weekend, better yet, from the Thursday game all the way through the Sunday games, was loaded with that kind of controversy. And the odd thing about it, even in the Sunday night game, and that was a real head scratcher. Better yet, let's go back to the Sunday afternoon game between Detroit and Pittsburgh. That one alone was absolutely filled with highly questionable calls. I'm not making this up. Even the announcers were like, hey, wait a minute. That was a pass interference call, but it wasn't called. You can't tackle the receiver before he has the ball. The announcer said it. Even former referee from the National Football League, he is the rules expert, apparently, for the NFL on those games, and he said the same thing. That's clearly a pass interference call because you cannot tackle the receiver. Anyway, the whole game seemingly was loaded with those kinds of calls, and from everything that I saw, It seemed like the referees did everything they could to have Detroit win that football game. But Pittsburgh wasn't having it. But there was a final play at the very end, which is a real head-scratcher. And so everybody talking about this. I'm talking about it. CBS Sports, just like here, they're talking about it. They said, what happened on the final play in the Steelers' chaotic 29-27 road win over the Lions? Making sense of dramatic ending, you say? So here's what it sounded like. Let's see if I can get this soundbite right here. This is courtesy of X and the NFL. So here, let's see if you can listen in real quick.
Once Carl Sheffer said the ruling was touchdown, we knew that time had expired. You see the OPI by St. Brown there. And as I said, the game was at 0 whenever Goff scored, so that is end of game. You don't extend on offensive penalties with zeros on the clock.
You know, the players are still standing on the field. The Lions players are looking up at the big board, watching the replay over and over again, and incredulous, trying to figure out what just happened. How about the effort right there, by the way, and the presence of mind for Goff to fly into the end zone.
I mean, folks, this was a chaotic last play, but leading up to it, there was a host of questionable plays. And you kind of wonder, are they cheating in plain sight? I mean, look, there's a lot of things going on in plain sight, and let's face it, we see chemtrails all the time in the sky. First, the government denied it, and then they said, well, you know, it's climate control and whatever. And other investigations have shown that where there is, aluminum and barium and, I guess, cadmium, all kinds of terrible, terrible cocktail mixtures of whatever is being sprayed in the sky that is being disseminated to us at, I don't know, in alarming rates, frankly. And frankly, it takes the idea of organic produce away, but let's not get away from what we're talking about. Back to this Detroit Lions ending here. And so, as CBS Sports noted, they said week 16 of the NFL season has provided instant classic after instant classic, and the Pittsburgh Steelers' 29-24 road win at the Detroit Lions had the wildest ending of them all, and that was on Sunday, of course. And of course, the week began with the Seahawks erasing a 30-14 fourth quarter deficit to win 38-37. And I have to say, in that game as well, we saw countless calls go against Seattle, especially in the third and fourth quarters and in overtime on top of it. And the only way for Seattle to really win that game was to go for 2, and that's what they did after they scored a touchdown. But the point is, when you look at all these different classics, this, that, and the other, you say, all right, which way is the money going? I don't know. But back to this Detroit game. Facing a 4th and goal from the 9 with 8 seconds left on the clock, Detroit quarterback Jared Goff dropped back to pass and connected with top target Amon-Ra St. Brown. Well, guess what? It was offensive pass interference. And, of course, Brown was clearly going to get tackled short of the end zone. That's when he absolutely improvised, whipped the ball backwards to his teammate. That's right, to Jared Goff. And Jared Goff ran the ball in the last few yards across the goal line. But wait! Funny enough, Goff did just that despite the Steelers' defense appearing to stop playing because it seemed like St. Brown was held up long enough for the play to be blown dead in the first place. Now, if you watch the replay, you'll see that Jared Goff ran right by the defender. And he was just saying, all right, well, go ahead. This game has already ended. And so, look, Goff's essentially scoop and scored off St. Brown's lateral was wiped away because of that offensive pass interference off of Jalen Ramsey. That guy always seems to find some kind of controversy at some point. But nonetheless, a very, very, very good player. So head referee Carl Shevers explained that because the penalty was on the offense, that Goff's touchdown was nullified by rules. An offensive penalty when time has expired does not trigger a replay of the previous play. So the Steelers walked away with a big, big late season win. And here's an explanation. Let's see if we can get this explanation from the referee. It's going to open up yet another one of these X links. So, folks, I'm going to play this off of X. And this, if I'm not mistaken, is from the National Football League. It is. All right, so let's listen in on what they have to say here. All right, so let's hit the rewind button. Let's hit our audio. Make sure the audio is up. Okay, and here we go.
Major call.
The ruling on the field is a touchdown, however, pass interference, number 14 on the offense. By rule, that penalty is not enforced and there is no replay, the game is over.
Wow.
There is no touchdown.
Whoa!
OPI.
Major.
There it was. So it was an offensive pass interference call. What a chaotic ending. And boy, I got to tell you, they did everything they could, being the refs, to help the home team win this game. Of course, that's needless to say, in my opinion, and that's all it is. It's just my opinion. So as I look at it, in the same light, when we look at these pass interference calls and all this other nonsense, we say, well, what in the world is going on here? And that's the part that I'm missing. But the Lions' playoff hopes are now slim to none as a result of their last-second loss. Detroit needs Green Bay, of course, the current owner of the NFC's 7th and final playoff spot, to lose their last 2 games against Baltimore and Minnesota. And the Lions also need to win their last 2 games, and they need a little bit of help. So the Lions also need to win their last 2 games, of course, at the Vikings. And, well, let's face it, the Bears are in first place right now, exactly where they belong. And let's face it, they earned it. So you can say all you want, you can complain all you want, but at the end of the day, it's the Chicago Bears that are back in first place, Green Bay in second, Detroit is sitting on life support in third, and the irony, well, I'll tell you what, we'll get to that in the playoff bracket, the bracket as it stands right now. When we come back from break here on the Sports Circus, lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out, folks. All right, and a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, our radio affiliates. Thanks for waking up with us over in Atlanta on WDJY 99.1 FM. Thanks for driving home with us at 7 p.m. over in Auburn, Alabama, from Montgomery all the way over to Columbus, Georgia. Listening in on WAUD, that's home of the Atlanta Braves. Welcome in everybody else up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast, those driving between sunny Southern California and fabulous Las Vegas, listening in on Highway Country Radio, 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM, right along Interstate 15 for a couple of hundred miles, all the way up to Anchorage, down to Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, that's home of the 49ers, home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And, of course, everybody listening, or watching, I should say, on Cox, Comcast Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us there. Hotel TV, where applicable. And, of course, everybody streaming on your favorite streamer. And, of course, on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And by the way, in case you're just tuning in, at the top of the show, there was a giveaway from Vacation Buddies, giving away a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri, if you know the answer to a simple trivia question. And if you're just tuning in, I'm going to read that question over for you once again. And if you know the answer, call the number right after that I give to claim your free nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. Which of these four NBA superstars won 6 NBA titles? Is it A, Magic Johnson, B, Larry Bird, C, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or D, Michael Jordan? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Again, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights in Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or in Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to that very simple trivia question, if so, call 888-576-5777. Call now. Okay, so with all the chaos going on in the NFL for the last several days, now we arrive at the standings as they stand right now. And some of the positions for the playoffs have been determined. Over in the NFC East, Philadelphia has clinched, of course, the playoff division title, needless to say, and they have, of course, clinched a playoff spot. So they get an X and a Z according to NFL.com. And everybody else is eliminated in that division. No real big surprise there. Over in the NFC North, it's the Chicago Bears that have clinched a playoff spot. Nobody else has clinched anything in that division because Green Bay now sits, well, shoot, it looks like a game and a half behind the Bears. And Detroit now sits 3 games behind the Chicago Bears with 2 games remaining. So they're certainly not going to win the division, but they need a little bit of help from Green Bay and from other teams as well. So the only way that the Detroit Lions get in is if Detroit loses or wins the next 2. Detroit wins those, and Green Bay loses the next 2. And, well, guess what? The Lions still have to play Minnesota. Minnesota is, well, they're clinging to the possibility of, well, actually, no, they've been eliminated, but they can knock everybody out at this point. All right, moving on. Over in the NFC South, Carolina has drawn 1 game ahead with that head-to-head win over Tampa Bay. Carolina at 8 wins against 7 losses right now. In the division, they're 3-2, whereas Tampa is 2-3. And so when you look at what's going on in the South, it's just going to be the division winner. That's it. Now, all the power, for the most part, comes from the NFC North and the NFC West, where 3 teams in the West have already clinched playoff spots. So it gets a little convoluted here. Seattle right now has the number 1 seed overall, and we're going to get to Seattle in just a moment here. But the Rams sit behind them by 1 game, and San Francisco sits behind them by a game and a half. So it looks to me like San Francisco's game coming up against the Chicago Bears, they're hosting the Bears. It is a desperate need for a win against the Bears at home to get out of their spot as a wild card team, and they're trying to somehow find a way to win the division, which I don't think they can. However, anything could happen in this crazy league. So I mean, they technically can with, 12 wins against 5 losses. But then again, Seattle would end up 12-5 too. I mean, look, there's a lot going on here. The Rams could actually win that division. But 3 teams have already clinched from the NFC West, showing that's where the bulk of the power is. I mean, if you pit the NFC West against the NFC North, pound for pound, I mean, these are really good matchups. Even at first, second, and third place right now, it would be Bears against Seattle. It would be the Rams against Green Bay and the Detroit Lions against the 49ers. I mean, that's the 3 top teams in either division. But there's a lot of work to be done here on this playoff bracket. Now, over in the AFC, things are a little bit more confusing because really only 2 teams have clinched playoff spots. And we're going to start over in the AFC West, and that's the Denver Broncos. The Broncos sit at 12-3. So they've got a couple of games left. They could finish technically at 14-3, pretty darn good. But the Chargers, 1 game right behind the Denver Broncos at 11-4. And so that division is still up for grabs right now. Kansas City and Vegas are both eliminated. Over in the AFC South, it is the surging Jacksonville Jaguars, now 11-4. They sit 1 game ahead of, again, the surging Houston Texans. The Jags have won 6 in a row. The Texans have won 7 in a row. I mean, these are really good squads here, folks. Really good. And by the way, the Colts are still in the hunt. They sit 3 games or 2.5 games behind first place Jacksonville, and they sit a game and a half behind the Houston Texans with 2 games left. So that division has still not been settled. Over in the AFC North, the only way that Pittsburgh doesn't win the division, they got to lose their next 2, and Baltimore needs to win their next 2. Real simple. Moving on, over in the AFC East, it's the New England Patriots. They sit 1 game ahead of the Buffalo Bills. They're 12-3 versus the Bills 11-4. And those 2 teams have split. They played each other. So the tiebreaker goes back to the division. And right now, it's New England with that 3-1-0 against Buffalo's 3-2-0. So the tiebreaker in the division goes to the New England Patriots. Yeah. So that's how you got to look at this. And guess what? It's the Patriots that are undefeated on the road. They're 7-0 at home. No other team in the NFL is 7-0 on the road. That's pretty damn good. And looking at the best in the NFC, it looks like Seattle at 6-1 is the best team there. That's pretty darn good. But out of the playoff teams, you have to look real quick in the NFC. Out of your playoff teams, you've got 5-3. The Bears are 5-3 so far, and the Rams. Oh, and San Francisco, 6-2. Those are the best road teams in the NFC. But over in the AFC, we go back to these other contenders. Both Denver and LA, the Chargers. They're both 5-2 on the road. So look, they can hit the road and play well, just like Jacksonville. They're 5-2 also on the road. So look, some of these teams, there are no automatic cakewalks here. No. I mean, there are some really good matchups. And as we look at the matchups, here's where it gets a little bit dicey. So when you look at this playoff bracket as it stands today, over in the NFC, because a lot of the teams have already been decided, there's still a couple left, or basically 1 left. Seattle being the number 1 seed, they have a bye, and they would get technically right now the winner of the Rams or Carolina. So it could be a 3rd game against the Rams the same season. Over and the 6-3 matchup, right now it looks like Philadelphia at the 3 and San Francisco as the 6. Now that's pretty exciting. Also, here, another potential 3rd matchup in one season. It would be the Chicago Bears hosting the Green Bay Packers. And that would be essentially your first round in the NFC. Now, if everything stayed static in the AFC, Denver would have the number 1 seed, and the Chargers, as the 5-4 matchup, the Chargers would travel to Pittsburgh. Even though they have a better record, they would travel to Pittsburgh, the 5 at the 4. And at the 6-3 matchup, and the winner, of course, in that 5-4 would end up playing the Denver Broncos at Denver. Now, in the 6-3 matchup, is Buffalo as the 6, Jacksonville as the 3. Boy, you never know what the hell's going to happen there. That's pretty good stuff. And so, moving on, it is in the 7-2 matchup, it is the Houston Texans. Boy, they're a tough out. And they would be playing the New England Patriots in Foxborough. So as we look at the brackets as they are today, I mean, this is going to change. Unless something crazy happens in the AFC, this whole thing is going to change. I don't think it stays static whatsoever. The NFC side actually has a shot to stay that way. However, the Bears and the 49ers do play next week. Now, that could flip-flop those teams, and it could actually drop the Bears into a different position because the head-to-head tiebreaker between the Bears and the San Francisco 49ers, that would change only if Green Bay could somehow win the division. Otherwise, the Bears right now stay in the 2 slot because they have a better record than Carolina, who is the other division winner right now. So you have Seattle, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Carolina in that order. The only way the Bears go out of the 2 is if they lose a game, or better yet, if they lose the division to the Green Bay Packers, which is not likely. All right, folks, back here in a few minutes. We're going to shift into basketball. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on The Circus.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guest, our prior guest, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, plus a whole bunch of others. Also, make sure to check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. One of our favorites is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't make it down there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. And guess what? You still have time for that last-minute holiday order. And tell you what, you can get yourself some nice supplies, get some great food, and everything is done by overnight courier, so everything is served fresh. It's not frozen. They don't send frozen anything. And I know because I've gotten the Christmas tubs of beef and fresh bread and the giardiniera and the au jus. I tell you what, folks, if you've never had it, boy, are you missing out. Check them out again at 1079 West Taylor Street. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef in Chicago's Little Italy, or alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Boy, that's good stuff. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know who you are. And there's a lot happening in college basketball. And there's been some upsets here and there, and then some not so upsettedness, if you will. And whether it's this week's polls or that week's polls, the polls really don't mean a lot. But what I found interesting is, we have the Associated Press top 25, and then we have the coaches poll. Now, the coaches poll, kind of what I'm getting at here. And the coaches, you would think that's all coaches, but nope, it's not all coaches. As a matter of fact, there are 31 head coaches at the Division I level that are members of the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Most people don't know this stuff. So for the board, for the 25-26 season, this is who makes up the board. So when you say, well, it's the coaches, all the coaches, no, it's not. It's these 31 coaches, and pay attention to how many of them are Power 4 institutions. So the list is in no particular order, except in alphabetical, that is. So without further, it's Adrian Autry from Syracuse. Now these are the coaches. John Becker from Vermont. Randy Bennett from St. Mary's. Jeff Bowles from Ohio U. Alvin Brooks from Lamar. Pat Chambers, Florida Gulf Coast. Scott Drew from Baylor. Dan Earl from Chattanooga. Jonas Hayes from Georgia State. Dante Jackson from Alabama A&M. Ben Jacobson from Northern Iowa. James Jones from Yale. Greg Kemp from Oakland. Eric Conkle from Tulsa. Brad Korn from Southeast Missouri State. Anthony Latina from Sacred Heart. Jim Less from UC Davis. Greg McDermott from Creighton. Nick McDevitt from Middle Tennessee. Mike McGarvey from Lafayette. Dan Monson from Eastern Washington. Chris Moody from Richmond. Mike Morrell from NC Asheville. Nate Oates from Alabama. Eric Olson from New Mexico. Matt Painter from Purdue. Paul Sather from North Dakota. Patrick Sellers from Central Connecticut State. Zach Spiker from Drexel. Brent Tanner from Abilene Christian. And Stan Waterman from Delaware State. Now, have you noticed anything in this list? Well, what stands out to me is you've got a diversified group, and it's not dominant in one or the other, meaning Power 4, Group of 5, whatever. None of that stuff. No, you have very, very small schools, and you have only a handful of these Power 4s. I mean, let's face it. Who do you have? You've got Alabama, and you've got Purdue, and Baylor as your Power 4 representatives. And then you've got a bunch of the small schools, which I kind of dig it. And what else we look at are some of the others. Now, so here's something interesting. So let's go to Alabama A&M. In case you don't know, Alabama A&M. All right? And so why does it matter that we're talking about Alabama A&M? Well, because Alabama A&M is a historical black college and university. Why does it matter? Because in college football, the HBCUs, they don't get to compete in the big football games. No. Alabama A&M is an HBCU located in Huntsville, Alabama, in case you don't know. And it's known for its strong STEM programs, right? The student body is very, very diverse. It's a D1 school in the SWAC. And what matters to me is that college basketball gives everybody a shot. Doesn't matter how big or how small you are, everybody gets a shot in the big dance. And some people say, well, there's a problem. We just saw that and this, that, and the other in football. Listen, folks, in basketball, any five can play with any five on the court. Now, of course, the difference in basketball, like football, is recruiting in depth. It's all about the depth. How deep is the bench? But what I love about college basketball is that the small school actually is given a shot. In college football, what do they get? The HBCUs. You want to talk about discrimination? This is ridiculous. The HBCUs get one bowl game, and they call that, are you ready for this? The Celebration Bowl. I don't see what's being celebrated there. There's nothing about celebration for that. You have two HBCU schools playing one another. They don't get a chance to play against the bigger teams and whatnot. What if they went undefeated? No, they just don't get that opportunity, which is really unusual because they say, well, they don't get the recruiting. Well, last I checked, if you looked at the different Hall of Famers, let's do a simple search here. How many Pro Football Hall of Famers from HBCUs? All right, let's see what it says. Well, that search engine that rhymes with noodle says there are approximately 35 Pro Football Hall of Famers who attended HBCUs, making up around 10% of the entire hall. Guys like Walter Payton and Jerry Rice and Deacon Jones, etc., etc. Really unbelievable players. And so you ask yourself, well, how come college football doesn't offer that and college basketball does? So let's just go how many basketball, we'll do this, right? We're going to do this live. Basketball Hall of Famers are from HBCUs. Well, according to that same search engine, there are over 20 inductees, players, coaches, contributors with HBCU ties in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Guys like Earl the Pearl Monroe, Sam Jones from NC Central, Willis Reed from Grambling, and on we go. Nate Clifton, many more. Coaches like John McClendon, etc. In schools with multiple Hall of Famers, NC-A&T, Tennessee State, Winston-Salem State, Cheney, NC-A&T. I mean, listen, folks, college football's got it wrong. College basketball's got it right. Why does it matter in the coaches poll? I'm going to tell you why it matters in the coaches poll. I'm going to get right back to that. Because when you look at the coaches poll, it's not whether the AP says this, that, and the other. What I notice, what stands out to me as we look up and down that list of the list of voters in the USA Today Sports Board of Coaches, last I checked, it was Alabama A&M. Dante Jackson, his name is in there, and there is some fairness for the HBCUs in college basketball. Now that's one hell of a story, folks. I don't care what the coaches or what the polls show right now, and frankly, what the polls show right now doesn't really mean a hell of a lot. So let's go just real quick on the AP. Okay, fine, and this is going to change because Duke they lost their game, and so Duke is going to fall from the unbeatens, and actually, we're better yet. Let's just go right to the top 25 in the coaches poll. All right, so it's Michigan 1, Arizona 2, Duke 3. They're going to fall. Iowa State, UConn, Purdue, Gonzaga, Houston, Michigan State, BYU, Louisville, Vanderbilt is 10-0, as to be expected. Boy, those guys can play, and so forth. We go down the list. But over in the grand scheme of things, when we look at the AP Top 25, all right, it's not really much different. I'm looking at the AP Top 25 right now, and essentially, you've got just about the same lineup, and Vanderbilt's just a few slots down. Purdue will jump up a few as well. But what I'm trying to say here is, since the voting goes from the college coaches, in the coach's poll. To me, that one actually matters a little bit more because those are the guys that are coaching the teams that are out there in the trenches every day competing. The AP doesn't really mean much to me. It's the coach's poll that means a hell of a lot more. And they're usually very, very close in their rankings anyway. But I love the fact that the HBCUs actually have a say in the coach's poll along with a bunch of small schools. Now, how cool is that, folks? We don't get that kind of opportunity very often. We just want to make sure that we bring some attention to it. All right, we're going to be back here. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're going to stick with a little bit of basketball. We're going to head into Major League Baseball real quick. Talk about a couple of signings. Don't go anywhere.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Excellent.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com's store. Lots of great gift ideas over there. And that is across the top tab of the sportscircus.com. Just click on store. Lots of great gift ideas, hats, hoodies, t-shirts, coats, pants, pillows, blankets, mouse pads, travel mugs, coffee mugs, all kinds of great items over there with the clever Sports Circus logo on them. And of course, a shameless plug for the Sports Circus. Hey, listen, we have bills to pay too. However, these are great American-made products. Check them out again at the sportscircus.com's store. And of course, if you mention Ringmaster Sal, guess what? You get yourself an extra 10% off. All right, welcome back to everybody on radio and TV. You know who you are. Now, we're going to shift over into baseball for a minute here because actually for the balance of the show, college basketball, we already covered that, and it's a really nice story with the coaches poll, how it is divided up in the 31 different coaches. And if you want to know more about that, just go ahead and look it up, folks. And it's really a good thing. From a fairness standpoint, I like the fact that college basketball actually gives the little guy a chance, unlike college football where it's money, money, money. Never mind fairness. All right, moving into Major League Baseball transactions. We'll say maybe the last handful of days. The Pittsburgh Pirates signed shortstop Marco Luciano. Of course, actually, they didn't sign him. They DFA'd him, excuse me. They DFA'd him. That's not good. They did the same thing to Sun-Chi Cheng on the same date. Another DFA for Pittsburgh, designated for assignment. So basically, you're done. So the Atlanta Braves signed Ian Hamilton to a contract. And also on the same day, it was the San Francisco Giants DFAing Wade Meckler. Now, Warming Burnable with the Washington Nationals signed a minor league contract. All this was on the 19th, mind you. Jose Miranda, as a very good and underrated player for the Minnesota Twins, finds himself now with the San Diego Padres, signed a minor league deal with them. Josh Walker was DFA'd from the Orioles, right-handed pitcher, and the Tampa Bay Rays claimed Oswaldo Bido, right-handed pitcher, off of waivers. And how about this? It's the Kansas City Royals signed a minor league deal with Abraham Toro, first baseman, and it's the New York Mets trying to plug the dam somehow. Kevin Herget signed a minor league deal with the Mets on the 19th of December. Elieser Hernandez signed a minor league deal the next day with the Atlanta Braves, right-handed pitcher, and a relief pitcher. And Paul Blackburn, a pretty darn good relief pitcher, signed a one-year deal with the New York Yankees. And on the same day, Justin Brule was DFA'd, a relief pitcher from Cleveland. On the same day, Justin Henry Malloy, designated hitter, was DFA'd from Detroit. Also on the 20th, Brennan Davis signed a minor league deal with Seattle. He's an outfielder. And on the same day, again, Cleveland signed Stuart Fairchild to a minor league deal too. Now, the big signing came from the Chicago White Sox, signed a 2-year deal, a $34 million deal with Munetaka Morikami, third baseman from the Japanese Baseball League from the Yakult Swallows. Also, same day, Wilson Contreras signs, that's right, or actually better yet, he was dealt to the Boston Red Sox from St. Louis for Hunter Dobbins, and that just happened. And the same thing, of course, we had the other way. We had Hunter Dobbins going as a starting pitcher from the Cardinals to the Boston Red Sox, and Vimael Machin was signed in a minor league deal with the Colorado Rockies. All right, so let's get back to Murakami, with the White Sox big slugger that was signed. Now, in case you don't know about him, let's just go to some quick information about him. I won't cover everything, but if you just look under Baseball Reference, you'll find that he did win Rookie of the Year and MVP in Japan, then set a single-season record for most homers by a Japanese player in the Japanese Baseball League. He was the youngest Japanese player to 100 career home runs and won an Olympic gold medal. He hit 52 homers in high school. The Yakult Swallows, Yomiuri Giants, and Rakuten Golden Eagles all went for him in the first round of 2017 after all three lost out on Kotaro Kiyomiya. Now, Yakult did win the lottery, and of course, he went 1 for 12 with 2 walks and a homer in 2018, going deep off of Okada. And he spent most of the year in the minors, slashing 288, 389, 490, 17 homers, 70 RBIs in 98 games. Pretty good line. And so he tied Kiyami for second in the Eastern League in home runs and was second to Renwada in RBIs. So he's regular for the Yakult Swallows in 2019. And look, the guy played. He played a lot. And going to his stats real quick, he didn't really have a sophomore slump or anything like that. Let's go to the stat line. And I was looking at this just a little while ago. I said, this guy got off to a really good start. When you look at his accomplishments, what he did, I mean, it's fairly impressive. But also, there's a couple things that stand out, and you'll follow along with me here. So in 2018 is really when he came in at age 18, and he hit 18 home runs in 2018. 2019, actually, he hit about that many home runs. In 2019, he hit 20 home runs in 593 plate appearances. Actually, he hit 36 home runs. 36 home runs in 2019 with 96 RBIs. 2020 hit 28 home runs with 515 plate appearances. 2021, he hit 39 home runs and 615 plate appearances, drove in 112. His biggest year was 2022. Hit 56 homers and drove in 134. But then from 2023, his productivity almost was cut in half. He only hit 31 homers the next year with almost the same amount of plate appearances and 50 less runs batted in. He had 7 less stolen bases as well. So we're seeing something happen there in 2023. And then in 2024, he played, he had a decent year again, but his numbers did not match 2022. And they were on the upswing all the way up to 2022. Even in 2025, he only played half the season, still had 24 home runs, 47 RBIs. But I guess what I'm after here is what happened with this guy? Well, in case you don't know, well, guess what? We always do our homework here. So Munetaka Murakami's recent injury history preliminarily involves an oblique injury in 2025. Did the White Sox essentially roll the dice and give away $30 million? Is that what we're talking about on a 2-year deal, $34 million? Well, let's find out. So he had an oblique injury that sidelined him for part of the season following winter arthroscopic surgery on his right elbow in late 2024. Okay, so now you've got 2 pretty significant injuries. Now that led, of course, to a slow start and recurring issue that limited his games despite his impressive home run power when he played. Now before 2023, as I mentioned, he was remarkably durable. Both injuries have since affected his standout performance. So again, these key injuries, late 2024, early 2025, elbow problem. Oops, big problem there. Spring of 2025, oblique problem. That's right, after the elbow problem, he experienced upper body discomfort in March of 25 and then suffered an oblique injury in spring training. Now, if you don't know what that is, folks, okay, the obliques are the love handles, right? So there's a real problem there. But remember, as you're swinging, what are you doing? You're twisting at your waist, and that is that oblique muscle that's constantly getting stretched and stretched and stretched. So a month after spring training, he returned briefly, but re-aggravated the oblique in his final at-bat that day, missing the first half of the season. So let's go back to mid-2025, return and continued issues. So obviously the guy didn't heal. So he returned again in late July, but continued to deal with the oblique issue, limiting them just 56 games for the year. So how did it impact him? Well, let's face it, first of all, you can't swing the same way. And let's play it. If you're playing the hot corner, you're not going to be able to reach for the ball in the same way. So despite being sidelined, though, he did maintain a high home run rate, 22 homers in 56 games. That's great. But the injuries contrast with his previous exceptional durability, leading to the question about his long-term health as he transitioned over to Major League Baseball. Why does it matter? Well, because the White Sox did sign him. They signed him to a 2-year deal. So the 2-year deal, I think, is smart. And you say, okay, well, 2 years, well, you're risking a little bit, but you're not basically giving everything away. And I think the reason the White Sox said, we'll go ahead and spend the money is because let's just say he recovers and they get him on the cheap and they have contract control for a couple of seasons. And then we'll see if he can actually play maybe half the season in 2026, maybe the full season in 2027. They're going to try to get their money's worth, given the fact that Ohtani's making, $70-odd million a year. So they say, you know what, we'll pay a percentage of that for a guy that could produce almost like him at the same time. And he's an everyday player, whereas Ohtani's not an everyday player on defense. He's only a designated hitter. So he does not play a position, whereas this guy happens to play third base. So the big question is, Munetaka Murakami, is he worth the signing? Well, I'll tell you what. Looking at his fielding percentages, let's look at him on the defensive side. All levels of everything he's played, his fielding percentage, all levels, 8 seasons, fielding percentage of .943. So 94.3% of the time he makes a good play, which actually is pretty darn good. And he does make a fair amount of errors, but he doesn't make as many as some of the other players. And let's face it, the White Sox will get value at third base out of him because he is a veteran player. He's got 8 seasons under his belt of professional baseball. So is it a reasonable transaction for the White Sox? I'm going to say it is, because he could spark the lineup, which they did score list, and they finished 19 games above in the win column where they were the previous year, the record-setting bad year. But they've got some good young players on that team, such as Oscar Colas, Colson Montgomery, and Chase Mydroth. There's some good young players on this White Sox team. And let me tell you something, folks. They are going to play near 500 baseball this year. They're going to make a quick turnaround. They'll probably be 5 or 6 games under 500, which is a far cry from all those games they lost the last couple of years. So yes, it is a big step in the right direction, and we'll see what the general manager has to say for upcoming deals. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your ringmaster, Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Owning great property is almost impossible these days. At least, that's what people keep saying. They don't know about National Premier Properties. Do you have $350 or a credit card? You can own a great piece of property in a resort community. National Premier Properties has over 51 years of experience helping people just like you purchase amazing properties across the U.S. and in Mexico, Canada, the Bahamas. It takes less than 5 minutes to turn your dream into reality. Visit nationalpremierproperties.com and make it happen now.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.